Game of Thrones Season 7 premiere. Oh my god! Y'all, winter's here. So there was a very long previously on Game of Thrones for all the people who maybe haven't watched since the season finale aired last year. And thank God, because who remembers all of that stuff? I mean, Game of Thrones, the world is so intricate and there's so many characters and so many storylines, so many places, and so many things have happened. It is really hard to keep track of all of it, really, unless you are like a Game of Thrones super fan. But for the rest of us, it is a little difficult and we need a little refresher. So that was very nice. Thank you, HBO, for doing that. So I gotta say, Arya continues to be a fucking beast. So not only does she go in there and kill Walder Frey, she kills all the Freys. Every single last Frey. All of them. And, you know, I can't say they didn't deserve it. Like, why are you going to kill a pregnant lady? And you killed her mom. So, of course, you're going to get it too. So, Sansa and Jon Snow fighting openly in front of all of the people that they are trying to bring together. So, showing a little bit of discord and disagreement with each other. That kind of thing is not really done for different kind of reasons, for like optics, as we would call it. You want to seem that you are united, that you are together in all of this, and you don't want to look like there is unsettled in your family. And it was weird. It was kind of like watching your parents fight, or just like, or being out at a restaurant and watching a couple over another booth or table fight. And it was just really weird. And I'm sure it's really weird and awkward for everybody in that room. But it was definitely important to show, because there is the whole thing with Sansa Stark being really the last, well, not the last legitimate Stark, but she is the oldest Stark left over after her parents have been killed and Robb has been killed. She is really the next in line to lead the Stark household. And Jon Snow, who is the, you know, quote unquote bastard, is really taking the lead. And so it seems that Sansa's really trying to get a hold on her birthright, and she has learned so much. Sansa has really come a long way since episode 1, season 1 of the show. At the beginning of that, she was all about, you know, dolls and dresses and her hair looking pretty, and I'm gonna go marry a prince and I'm gonna be a princess and one day I'm going to be queen. Out of all of the horrible things that she experienced with Joffrey, and then the execution of her father, her mother being killed, that horrible situation she had with Ramsay Bolton, she is a totally different person now. She sees things, like, she doesn't think that the surface is all there is. She sees now what the world is really like. And because of that, now she can try to navigate it a little bit better than she was before. After the end of season 6, when Cersei epically murdered a building full of people, and like the most crazy way I've ever seen, like a mass murder on scripted television, it was insane. And then her son jumps out of a window to his death. You see now Cersei asserting herself, has ascended to the throne. She is now the queen. Now it's pretty much just her and Jaime. All of their children are dead. The Joffrey's dead. The girl is dead. The young one is dead. Like, all of her kids are dead. So somebody might look at that and think, well, maybe that's kind of like a curse kind of situation. Another way to look at it would be, well, that's what happens when you have blind and ruthless and relentless ambition, and you don't let anything stop you from getting you what you want. Now, I know she did a lot of that for her kids, but the way that she went about things, I mean, it came back around and it visited upon her children, and now every single one of her kids is dead. She is moving on, and she's forward thinking and just really powerful and super ambitious, and she wants to make sure that she maintains all of the 7 kingdoms under her little umbrella, and that she is the ruler of them all. It's a little interesting because it seemed like Tyrion and Tywin were really like the smartest of the Lannisters. And now that Tywin has been killed and Tyrion has gone over and he is now with Daenerys Targaryen, it is kind of interesting to see Cersei and Jaime now trying to work out things like strategy, which would normally be Tywin's game, or like politics, not really manipulating people, but getting people to cooperate and do things that make sense, like in a very smart way. And that would be Tyrion's role. So now it's left up really to the two of them to do all of that. And so it's going to be interesting to see. I wouldn't count Cersei out. I think a lot of people have in the past, and she is, every time she comes back and she just does it with comes back and does it with a massacre. It is insane. She's insane. So I wouldn't count her out. It's looking a little bad for her right now, but I wouldn't count her out at all. I mean, Cersei might outlive them all. And when I mean all, I mean everyone. She's going to outlive everyone because she's going to kill all of them. Oh, Sam. Sam thought that he was going to get this great life at the Citadel where he can have this intellectual life and just read books and study. And it turns out he's basically just emptying out chamber pots, putting books back on shelves, serving the worst looking meals I've ever seen, rinse and repeat day in and day out. But you know, when you come into a place, they have their own system and you just can't come in and be at the top or even at the middle. You've got to come in and do the grunt work. Now, one thing that is interesting to me is that, you know, the White Walkers, these crazy looking kind of zombie, like white, glowing blue eye people who we saw in the last season do some serious damage to the wildlings. It is so interesting to see that this is such a imminent threat to basically everyone, and most people don't even believe that they are real. And so it's kind of hard for someone like Jon Snow who's seen them, or for someone who's like Sam who mentions that in the scene, that these things are real. They're not fictional. They're real and they're super dangerous. And when you start talking about having all of these wars with these different groups here, the North and the South and this house and this castle, really, when the White Walkers come, everybody needs to be together, because when the White Walkers have a victory, they don't just kill people. Those people just don't die. They also become White Walkers, and that White Walker number grows. And so in that earlier scene with Jon and Sansa having that little discussion about, well, these people need to be these people need to be punished for their treason. It's like, yes, I get that, but if we don't band together with these people, they are going to die at the hands of these White Walkers, and then they're going to become White Walkers, and it's going to be bad for everybody. The numbers are just going to keep growing and growing, and everyone else's chance of survival just plummets. I mean, so Jon had, back when he was the Lord Commander of the Night's Watch, he really had a task ahead of him trying to convince them to link up with these wildlings so that they can be united against these White Walkers. And that's a really hard task, because when you have these generations long feud between these groups, there's that distrust there. And then also everybody, I mean, they know about the White Walkers, but people don't really understand how dangerous that situation is. So when you have those two things mixed together, it is a really hard sell to get people on board to say, we are stronger if we work together in numbers. Let's do this for this winter. After the winter is over, we can rehash all of these old feuds and everything. But if we don't get together and work together now, we're all going to die. We're all going to be White Walkers. So let's work this out. Then we have the Hound. I know that Arya Stark has an axe to grind with him because he killed the Butcher Boy in the first season. So in this episode, he goes back to a father and a daughter that he left penniless and to die. And that is like that side of his personality that was horrible. So since that empathetic part of him has grown, he comes back to see that they died, and it's hard, and he feels really guilty about that. You can tell that the Hound has had a heart from the beginning, but I think day after day, season after season, is growing and growing and growing. And finally, Daenerys comes home It is a very silent and solemn occasion. She walks around this kingdom that once belonged to her strong family. She is the last one. She has returned home with the dragons, and she walks the castle. You can tell no one has been there for years, and you can kind of see through her eyes and through her expressions that this is a place that means so much to her, that the history of this place, she can see that, she can feel that, she knows what it is, and she can also see that this is hers, and she's going to change this place. She can see the future that is going to be her castle, is going to be her land, and she is going to King's Landing, and she is going to reclaim the Iron Throne. Yeah, just the whole affair is just very solemn, just walking through the grounds, and at the end she's like, let's go. Okay, so that is my recap of the season 7 premiere episode of Game of Thrones. I hope you enjoyed it. If you want to see more, I'm going to be doing recaps of all of the episodes for this season. Go ahead and click the subscribe button and also hit the notification bell so you can get notifications. If there was anything you want to talk about, let me know what you thought of this episode. If you've seen it already, go ahead and put that in the comment section below. Also, when you subscribe to my channel, I also do new film release reviews. I'm going to be doing Throwback Thursday, where I review older films and talk about it in their context and if it held up today and present day. Also, follow me on Snapchat and Instagram, and we'll see you on the next one.